during the American Revolution, you would have been told it is to fight for freedom. In his essay, The Crisis, Thomas Paine urges Americans, near and far, rich and poor, to join the fight for freedom. Paine uses strong language to describe this essential duty, saying the heart that feels not now is dead, and the blood of his children will curse his cowardice. Patrick Henry used equally strong language, calling one's refusal to openly support the fight for freedom an act of treason. But shouldn't fighting for freedom still be the duty of every citizen? The only difference between the citizens of the 1700s and the citizens of today is that they were fighting with muskets, while we must fight with our voice. Every day, soldiers are fighting enemies on foreign soil to protect our freedom, but we, as citizens, must fight enemies of freedom on our own soil. Our Constitution was written by the people and for the people, and it is the people's duty to defend their constitutional rights when they're brought into question. In essence, we must all become soldiers of freedom. So what exactly are the duties of an American soldier? Well, if you were to consult a booklet titled Fall In, distributed to soldiers during World War I and World War II by the American Legion, it would tell you that a soldier is to serve not only to the credit of himself, but his family, state, and country. The booklet also states that it is a soldier's duty to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In my opinion, these should not only be the duties of an American soldier, but the duties of an American citizen as well. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. We are blessed with the freedom to speak our mind, but we do not always choose to exercise this right. A citizen does not need an M16 to defend freedom when he has the most powerful weapon of all, voice. The endless clips of ammunition a soldier carries are not necessary for a citizen armed with a never-ending vocabulary of thought-provoking words. The only equipment a citizen needs to bring into battle is his mind and his heart, and there will be no enemy that he or she cannot defeat. One of the most difficult things about fighting for freedom is that the enemy is not always obvious. In fact, urban warfare has made it increasingly more difficult for a soldier to discern an armed insurgent from an innocent civilian. Tragically, the lives of some soldiers are even claimed by friendly fire. But soldiers do not leave the fight for freedom simply because things are difficult and the target's hard to find. They stay the course and fight for the greater good. It's my belief that citizens should do the same. We must be mindful of our rights, and when they are compromised, we must also stay the course, even if the road is not an easy one. We cannot simply sit idly by and watch a few men change the foundation of our country. We must rise up, like many men have done before us, and defend the characteristics of the greatest country in the world. In 1964, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner did just that. These three courageous young men, two white and one black, understood their Constitution to say that all men are created equal. But in the South, they recognized that this constitutional right was not being extended to African Americans, and they decided to take action. They began by organizing voter education classes in Meridian, Mississippi for African Americans. Later, they made plans to open a freedom school at Mount Zion Methodist Church in order to teach voter education training sessions and to encourage African Americans to think differently. Unfortunately, on June 21st, 1964, before their dreams could be realized, members of the Ku Klux Klan firebombed the church, and they were left to stare upon the ashy remains of their broken dreams. Shortly thereafter, Chaney, Goodman, and Schwerner paid the ultimate price for his commitment to equality: death. These three brave soldiers for freedom were murdered at the hands of democracy's enemies, members of our own country. Some may ask what these three men's sacrifice accomplished. I would answer with 100 FBI agents compiling a 150,000-page case report in a week. I would answer with the first time in Mississippi history a Klansman had ever been convicted against the death of a black person or a civil rights movement? I would answer with countless future freedom schools spreading like wildfire throughout the South. At James Chaney's funeral, a close family friend and civil rights member rose to speak on James' behalf. He stated, "I'm sick and tired, and I ask you to be sick and tired with me. The best way we can remember James Chaney is to demand our rights. If you go back home and sit down and take what these white men in Mississippi are doing to us, if you take it and don't do something about it, then goddamn your souls." Dave Dennis is absolutely correct. The fight for freedom did not end with the death of James Chaney. Our constitutional liberties, the very soul of our nation, are constantly under siege. And it is time for the citizens of America to recognize their freedoms and defend them, both through word and through deed. In war, sometimes it becomes necessary for a soldier to sacrifice his own well-being for the good of others. Likewise, the ultimate act is not an act that benefits oneself, but one that benefits the nation. George Washington, for example, led American soldiers into battle to obtain freedom and then helped construct the American Constitution to secure it. But Washington's greatest contribution to democracy was arguably what he didn't do. When Washington was finished with his second term of presidency, many thought he would continue for at least another term. Washington, however, recognized the dangers inherent in a presidential office without term limits and voluntarily stepped down. In his farewell speech, he stated, "I beg you, at the same time, to do me the justice to be assured that this resolution has not been taken without a strict regard to all the considerations appertaining to the relation which binds a dutiful citizen to his country." A dutiful citizen to his country. Washington sacrificed the ultimate office and in turn set a precedent for how long presidents should remain in power. A precedent that proved to be so important it was later changed to law. George Washington once said, "Happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. Therefore, a citizen who sits by and ignores his moral duty to protect the freedoms his fathers fought for isn't a citizen at all." So what am I asking of the average American citizen? Nothing more than to defend what is rightfully theirs. Freedom. I'm asking the average, hard-working, middle-class man to stand up to our government if he feels his freedom or the freedom of his neighbors in jeopardy. Our preamble begins, "We the people." Our Constitution was written by the people. We are the people. And when the time comes for us to stand up and fight, not necessarily with weapons of force, but with weapons of voice, I ask you to stand up with me. You may be scared, but we'll all be scared. Together, the people of the United States of America. Thank you.